Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us for episode 137 of Reading Between the Reels, the premier podcast of staring into the abyss and asking, so this is everyone's fault now, right? If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us. If you've been enjoying the show, please like, follow, and subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can also support the show by posting on your socials and by joining our Facebook group. I'm Craig Dickinson, and I'm joined tonight by Corey Heidschmidt. Justin's out tonight. We'll miss him, but it's still going to be a great show. How's it going, Corey?
It is going great. We miss Justin, though.
We do.
He doesn't listen to the podcast, so he's not hearing this anyway.
Yeah, it's falling on deaf ears. So, Corey, what have you been watching this last week?
All right, Craig. Besides Chris Nolan's Oppenheimer, besides that, sorry, did I just give that away?
They downloaded the show. They know what's up.
I've been watching Voyager. I'm in. I am all in on it. I had reached a point where I was kind of like, what am I going to watch? Do I want to watch Star Trek Next Generation? Because I'm a sci-fi guy. I love these shows and the nostalgia aspect of it. And something about the properness of the Next Generation, I just don't think they pulled off in some things. But so then, I thought Voyager, I give it a try. I love it. I'm in season 4 right now, and they just made touch with the Starfleet again, and through bouncing off some magical, plot armor that they had. And when they did, I was like, they teared up at the end, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm teared up too. So it's been good. So I like that. And then my wife and I have been watching the Leanne Show. It's a little comedy. My wife, we watched her. She's a stand-up comedian. She's absolutely hilarious. She's funny. She's clean. She's on Netflix, and you see clips of her on TikTok everywhere. So my wife and I have been watching her TV show. It was 16 episodes. And they are, I don't know what happened here. It almost feels like a little mini skit because they're only 21, 22 minutes. But you realize with commercials, that's what a TV show, Friends, Seinfeld, all these shows we grew up on. But 21 minutes now, because there's no commercials on Netflix, you're just like,
it's fast.
Is that the show? Are we done? How are we like 12 episodes in already? But it just, I don't know. Does TV have to change the length of a sitcom because of, are they cutting this down to get to 21, 22? And maybe it's not a big thing anymore. I don't know. Yeah. It's a good question.
Yeah.
What about you?
Just a quick question for you, just to follow up on Voyager. What are you watching that? Is it on Paramount Plus? Is that where you're watching that? Or
I am. I am on Paramount Plus in Amazon.
Okay.
Which, by the way,
they still have all the Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous where we have to watch like 15 different. I have 16 apps or I don't know whatever it is, but gosh dang! And don't even get me started on trying to watch the NFL games.
Yeah.
Like I know there's somebody out there's also mad about this. Like you got to watch YouTube, you got to watch Paramount, you got to watch Fox, you got to have all these apps just to like someone's like, hey, you watching the game tonight? I don't know what app it's on. I'm hoping to.
Yeah,
we're have people coming over for the Super Bowl. They going to be able to watch the game? None of us know.
We're old men yelling at clouds at this point.
Yes, we are.
Gen X are just going, bring back cable almost. Not quite.
Gosh, just over-the-air channels.
Well, I have been watching a Paramount Plus show. I finally caught up on Mayor of Kingstown. I don't know if you watched that, but
with
Hawkeye. It's heavy. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the superhero version of Hawkeye. Jeremy Renner. Yeah, it's. I think I've talked about this before on the show. It's heavy. It's good. I liked it a lot more the first season, but now I'm just kind of pot committed. So it just finished season 4, I think, back in the fall of 25, and so I caught up. I didn't like this season as much because they've gotten rid of some of the characters that had been in it. Like the first 3 seasons, they had died off. I won't tell you who though. So it was a little bit disconnected from that, but it's dark. It's good.
Is it gritty?
Yeah, it's very gritty. I mean, like. He kind of, the Jeremy Renner's character, like, basically has to always be making peace between the cops and the criminals. And there's like 3 prisons that are right around the town. So there's a lot of bad stuff happening. He's just kind of, like you said, keeping the peace. So he's kind of morally gray in a lot of ways. The show itself is very gray in that. So, I don't generally watch more than one at a time just because it's a little heavy.
You need time to process after you watch one.
But on the other hand, I'm still watching Breaking Bad, which is also morally gray, big time. But that's just such a better show that like I can easily watch 2 or 3 of those in a row. And I'm in season 3 now, and yeah, I won't spoil anything for anybody that might not have seen it, but I think you'd like it, Corey. It's really well done. It is. I mean, it's heavy.
Yeah, I don't know if I can.
I didn't think I would like it.
Do you ever give up on a show? Mary Kingstown. You're watching it and you're like, the season wasn't as good. You ever give up?
I've given up on shows.
Okay. Because I feel like if I did that, I watched a show where I'm like, I can only watch one episode. Maybe I'll watch one. I don't know. I'm done. I mean, I'll bow out. And
for some reason, the one I'm thinking of, like, I stopped watching The Flash on CW. It just got way soap opera-y and like way away from like.
Yeah.
It felt like a comic book when it first started. The only one of those I ever Legends of Tomorrow. I stopped watching that. Arrow I watched all the way through. Yeah. Because I was like, that's my guy, Stephen Amell.
A lot of people don't know this, but Stephen Amell retweeted a meme that you did. Yes. So let's just go ahead and put that out there. Yeah. Like, we're brothers at this point.
Yeah. We should have met him. He was in Walla Walla.
Yes, he was in town. He came to Walla Walla. He went to a winery 25 minutes from us, and we were debating, should we go?
Owns a winery,
it's a school night. Should we go? No.
Didn't do it.
And then we didn't, and he blew up, and we were like, are you kidding me? We could have been hanging. Because there was like 30 people there. It wasn't even packed. Everybody getting selfies with him. He was at the Red Monkey.
Yeah. That's where it was. Yeah, I know.
I'll never blow that chance again. I will always take that chance.
Always. Anywho. Speaking of heavy stuff. Oppenheimer. The last film so far in our Christopher Nolan series. I mean, this will be the last one we'll do because Odyssey's not out yet at the time of this recording. So, Corey, what are your overall thoughts on Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer?
First off, I'm going to talk about Christopher Nolan. This man needs to be stopped, okay? Because every movie has just been getting progressively longer and longer. At this point, I think we need to stage an intervention for him. Chris, buddy, maybe do a little 90-minute rom-com, just to kind of touch some grass. You know what I'm saying? Bring it down to earth.
Yeah.
Because 3 hours.
Yep.
Okay? 3 hours. And I don't know what Odyssey is coming out. I bet that's going to be 6-7 hours probably. Okay? That's just where Christopher Nolan is just saying, I don't know. You know what? Time travel, right? You're just going to go in and then you come out of the movie. It's 2 years later and you're like, oh my gosh, I just time traveled. So
it's real time travel. Yeah.
It's him. This is a great movie. And I was not at first looking forward to watching it the second time. I've seen this once, right? I did not see it in theaters.
It's only the second time for you?
It's only the second time. Okay. I saw it once. I love the subject. I love the topic. I love the history biopic part of it. It's a heavy movie, okay? And so when you watch a heavy movie, sometimes like me, it's an emotional investment to do this. And I can't re-watch them like I can Star Trek Next Generation. I'm going to watch that because I'm not losing anything there. I'm not losing an investment. I like the characters. I like the story. Oppenheimer, there's an investment here because I know this movie is centered around lives lost in the millions all across every side, right? Everywhere you went, in Europe, in parts of Africa, like everywhere the war touched, people were losing lives, right? And so it's a heavy thing for me because I've had relatives and people I've known in that generation. So I feel like that's an investment. So it's not that kind of movie that I can just watch over and over. But watching it this time, I definitely I appreciated it more. I picked up more things. I think it's kind of shows that race, and it shows that there are villains on our side doing things. I mean, even though there are wars over there, there's battles raging here for power and prestige, and there's villains, flat out villains. Robert Downey Jr. is a villain in this movie. He is despicable what he does, but at the same time, Oppenheimer, it's this full circle where he goes so passionate, so powerful, heading towards this bomb. That's his focus. Everything he's doing, he's driving for this. He's pushing people. And they're disagreeing and they're doing things, and he's changing along the way. To then at the end regretting it and realizing what he's done, the immensity of what he's done, and so Robert Downey Jr. even in the beginning saying, thinking it's not such a big deal, or to finally go in, how much bigger can we make this? We make this bigger, we get more power, we get more strength. I mean, it's just a powerful view of these two guys in this movie. It's like the good guy and the bad guy. Even though Oppenheimer, at the end of the movie, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm the bad guy too because I'm the destroyer of the world. So I think it's a powerful psychological movie. So incredible acting on all parts and what they do. We'll talk about that, but it's definitely a heavy movie and some powerful lines, I think, the takeaways. Not necessarily humorous lines, but lines that make you really ponder where we're at in humanity. Here we are, 80 years later, and seeing where it's at. So,
yeah, it not a feel-good film.
No,
but incredibly well made. As long as it is, it moves really quickly.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things which we'll get into, just like the way that it's put together with the different timelines and things like that too, just is super captivating. But also just the performances are so good that you're sucked in and you really want to know these characters, and the editing is so quick too that there's a lot of characters. This is something Justin and I talked about off mic too, that when you were in that text chain too, right, Corey? That like they had to leave some people out, but even still the cast is enormous. And they're just like thrown out. Oh yeah, this is Zeller was over here doing this, and like I don't know who that character is yet, or I've met him once, and I can't keep track of who all these people are. So the
names of the scientists were tremendous to me. Being a science teacher, to where I was like Niels Bohr, I know that name. Einstein, I know. They just started all these guys that you're like Fredericks. Oh, what?
Yep.
Like these are the pillars of that time who got this going. So
yeah. Well, and as much as I've been watching Breaking Bad, like his the pseudonym that he takes is Heisenberg. So watch, look at the universe. Well, he wanted me to watch both of these things like on the same day. So yeah, really just very cool that you like this is based on real people and real events, and so you can dig a lot deeper into this and see how much of this is really based on historical fact and historical figures, and I think that makes it also really interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something about science and ego and politics.
Yeah.
And then the consequences of what because of this national responsibility, the scientific responsibility that they pushed onto these guys, these brightest minds came together to create, this absolutely horrendous thing. And the safety measures, you're talking about a nuclear bomb going off, an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And here you go, put some sunscreen on, put these welder's glasses on.
Yeah.
And,
they're doing all this from theory, right? Because they don't have any idea. They're just like, this is what I think might happen. And
are you close enough to feel the blast? Oh, okay, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's just going to melt people if they're within a mile. So we'll put you a little further. But, there's some nuances here that I was like, gosh, dang, this is before they had the safe. Like, they're building this thing, and yet they're still ignorant on some of the radiation and aspects that it's going to bring with it. So,
yep. Well, the whole thing of not being 100% sure they're not going to set the atmosphere on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Near zero, like Craig. Near
zero chance. With one of my
what do you
favorite
want from
lines.
Theory alone.
Zero would be nice.
Yeah.
Let's dig into the cinematography, Corey. What kind of things did you pick out? Composition, color, camera work on this view.
I'm going to tell you that this was on IMAX, wasn't it, when it came out?
Oh, a lot of it was filmed in IMAX, yeah.
And I gotta believe, I do regret not seeing this in the theater, because I think I would have, that explosion, everybody talked about it. I knew it was an immense. So you talk cinematography, number one, you're going there. You're going to the explosion, the actual real explosion that blew up, which was probably the equivalent to the size of a nuclear bomb that they did for the practical effect. Cinematography, that whole 15, 20-minute scene is tremendous. Building up to it, the music mixed with it, the close-ups you get when they're talking. And I don't know if you know this, just for when he's talking about the chances of the atmosphere turning on Matt Damon is leaned back and he's sitting and he's talking about this. What do you mean by saying the atmosphere could burn? You got a 3/4 shot of Matt Damon.
Mm-hmm.
When it closes into Oppenheimer, we're right here. Okay, we're seeing just on his face with a cup in his hand, like this close. It's a close up on him, and so in my mind, it looked to me to say Matt Damon is a distance, not that of the intelligence of where this conversation is, and Oppenheimer is right here. I know.
I like that.
He's my expert. He's my guy. So we make him larger. We make Matt Damon smaller. And as far as intelligence, that's where you're at, right? Oppenheimer is the genius. Matt Damon's just a soldier general that is doing this.
Who also studied engineering. Like, he's really smart too.
Yes.
Just
absolutely.
Several levels below Oppenheimer.
So I mean, but we're zoomed in on some of these characters throughout the show. Some of these scientists, especially Oppenheimer, where we could pretty much count the pores on his face and the wrinkles, And so I feel like it's definitely a way of putting his face on IMAX. Could you imagine that size? Like you're literally counting his pores. So, and I think that's an intentional thing. It's kind of a history of this man is large when this is all said and done, what this is.
Yeah. Well, this would be the part too. Like, you mentioned the IMAX thing. Like, and this was a 4K Blu-ray and a Blu-ray also that just like flew off the shelves to the point where they had to make multiple prints. Like, it's sold out in this day and age. I mean, it's a couple years old, but most things are streaming. But this is an argument for physical media though, because when you watch this digitally, you don't get to see the IMAX shots. So I watched it on 4K disc, and yes, there are several IMAX extended sequences where it fills the entire screen, and then it goes back to letterbox and stuff. So. Yeah, like the explosion that you're talking about is one of them for sure. There's lots of them, but that's definitely one. Like, get the disc, watch it on physical media. It's just a better viewing experience. The big thing I think you have to talk about with this movie is the color, where you have the two contrasting timelines, right? You've got the color ones, the fission, and then black and white fusion. They're labeled early on in the film, and then I'm not the first one to talk about this. It was well established that the color ones are subjective. They're essentially from Oppenheimer's point of view. Like, there's nothing in color where he's not in that scene. Like, that's all his experience. And then the black and white one is more objective, most of the time following Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Strauss. But Oppenheimer, and that's what's a little bit jarring, like when they have those scenes around around that banquet table, and Oppenheimer's there, but he's like off to the side. He's like one of many characters in that scene.
Yeah.
But just... Nolan's always going to be screwing with time. We know that, like, from the beginning.
Yep.
And so you're really like, all right, what are we doing? And sometimes there's flashbacks within flashbacks, and not nearly as hard to figure out as, say, Tenet, right? Like, you can tell what's happening, and it makes sense. Like, these scenes are linked thematically. They'll talk about certain things. There's lots of rhyming dialogue when we get to there, and so these scenes remind us of certain things. Like, both men are essentially on trial, but it's not a trial. Right? We're not convicting, we're just denying. But just the rhyming, it's just so beautifully put together. And it is, I'm just going to double check here. The editor was, Jennifer Lame, who also did Tenet, which, insane amount of cuts you have to do. This movie is put together. That's part of why it moves so well, right? It's a 3-hour movie, but it's cut so, like, within an inch of its life that keeps things moving, which is one thing I really appreciated with as many characters as there are. They do a really great job of mentioning a character by name and then showing you that character, like, really frequently. So you're like, okay, it's almost like name tags, just about. I got that. Some other things that I really liked is there's a lot of kind of golden scenes. Like, there's like some really soft golden lighting. Generally, they're around Gene Tatlock's scenes, the Florence Pugh character, and then the first couple scenes with Kitty. So it's kind of like the softer version of Oppenheimer's world.
Yes, I remember there was quite a bit of golden scenes in those scenes early on. Yes, with Florence Pugh. Definitely had like a nice soft glow in that time of the movie.
And again, this is, if it's in color, it's Oppenheimer's point of view too, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
As much as he is, which is another thing, but like, he's not a good guy. And they don't, they don't paint him with that brush either. They don't make him feel like, he's definitely the protagonist, but literally not the name. But
But you are rooting for him in the movie.
You are.
You are rooting for him to be successful. You know he's successful.
Right.
And so but you also, they don't make him come off, Nolan doesn't make him come off so dirty and so despicable. And I did look up some of the historical background, and I think that's where Strauss hated him so much. Strauss hated that in his view, he was an adulterer. He was a cheater. He was, and
which
so
he
Strauss.
was. I mean, that's
and in that time where there was some definite traditional values like that, where he would have just looked down on him for that.
That makes sense.
And so it would add to his other slights he had against him. And they don't really paint him so hard with that. They kind of focus on his aspect, scientist, politician that he was becoming. So,
yeah. Well, anything else that you liked from camera work before we move on? I had one or two other things, but I wanted to.
No, I think that there's some of the camera work that I think is just, we get several top views of Oppenheimer, and we get it's almost, he's got this gaunt look to him. And then when you go back and look at some of the historical photos of him, they light it so well. And you could do that with lighting, where Cillian Murphy, just in the lighting, looks very similar to Oppenheimer's photos, with how gaunt he looked. And so I think Nolan did a great job with that, of keeping him in shadows or having shadows and light on him to make him look reminiscent of that.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty striking resemblance. I think the last thing I just wanted to point out is the speech in the gym where he's addressing the crowd after they've dropped the bomb, and it has that just brilliant depth of field changing where it's very disconnected, moving behind him, which we saw this in, they did this in Batman Begins with the Scarecrow gas played by Scarecrow. That's Cillian Murphy also. But it just feels very much like he's disconnected, and you can tell, from the performance as well, that what he's saying he doesn't believe. It's supposed to be a kind of a rah patriotic thing, but he's racked by guilt, and clearly, he looks down and sees the damage that he's caused.
Yes.
Metaphorically.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a fun movie. Good.
No, but the thing is, it's a powerful movie. It's a very powerful movie, and it's almost like, we know this is a historical, it's not historically perfectly accurate, but it's an adaptation of the story. We were talking earlier in the thread about, how do you classify this? It's not historical fiction. Is it historical fiction? Biopic? What do you say?
Yeah.
And so,
well, also, it's a adaptation of the book, American Prometheus. So it's kind of a second generation version of it too.
Yeah.
But apparently most of it's pretty stinking close to accurate.
Yes.
Other than Justin mentioned some conversations that would have probably happened similarly. We don't have the actual text of those, but
yes,
that's enough to get us through. I should mention before we move on. Yeah, it did. This movie won 7 Academy Awards, one of which was for cinematography, and well deserved. Hoyte van Hoytema. It also won for best original score as we transition down to music. So Ludwig Göransson, in his second, job for Nolan, wins an Oscar. He also won an Academy Award for Black Panther for score, and he's doing The Odyssey, so I'm pretty excited about that. But the score for this film is amazing. I know.
Yes.
We say that a lot about these. Nolan's no slouch when picking musicians, but did you have favorite things that you liked, or things you noticed sound-wise, effects, or soundtrack stuff, or anything else?
Craig, and it's one of those things, I get into these, and I always say this, never pay attention to the music or the sounds as well as you have. But the two things in this movie for sound that absolutely stand out to me, that entire ignition sequence leading up to it, the way the music builds it. Whatever Göransson's doing in that Trinity sequence where they're trying to light it, and it reminds me of just some of the pressure and the angst that you got with music in the background building. Not even that it's a song, it's just some sound or a tone that's building, like in Interstellar, he did this. Yeah. And then he does it here with this bomb getting ready to blow up. And then to when the bomb finally blows up, silence, absolute silence. And
Yeah.
that's not an easy thing to pull off and just do. I mean, you could sit there and say in the book, okay, yeah, this is what we're going to do in our screenplay. Here we go. That's not an easy thing to do, to just drop some silence on people for about 20 seconds while this bomb explodes. And so, I mean, that's a razor's edge buildup he put us on. So I liked it.
Yeah.
I like that part of the sound and the soundtrack.
Yeah, I had those too. The lack, because it's such a bright, and again, going back to the IMAX-ness of this scene, how big it is, the explosion, how bright it is, and there's no sound at first. And almost to the point you're like, was that it? And then it hits you, and yeah, that very cinematic.
Can you imagine that conversation for Nolan to meet with Göransson and say, listen, I want you to build a theme up. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
And you need a theme or song or sound that's going to build the suspense up to probably the biggest moment of human history at this point.
Yeah.
Right? Like up till then, 1945.
Yeah, that's the bar.
Bomb is the bomb, right? That has shaped America ever since then, and all these other countries in the arms race and everything since then. Like, I want you to make a sound that's going to match that. And then we're going to silence it for the explosion. So that's not just an easy thing to just screenplay and do as a composer.
Well, I got to tell you, it reminded me of a couple things. It reminded me of the shepherd's tone that we hear in Dunkirk, where it's just continually rising, right? But there's contrasting ones. It's not just one tone. There's two of them. And it's faster and faster and faster and faster and building the tension. But also the tone of it, the rising strings, reminds me a lot of the Joker's theme. So it reminds me of a couple of things that Hans Zimmer has done for Nolan that just ramps that tension up, like you said, and then it just cuts.
Yeah.
The other track, so that's the Trinity is the name of that track on the soundtrack. It makes sense. The other thing I really like, the motif that I really like, you hear it quite a few times. Leitmotif is "Can You Hear the Music," which is you hear that almost from the beginning. That's the Oppenheimer, essentially his main theme. You have like these rapid pulsing strings, and it's almost kind of light at first. It's very curious, and then all of a sudden there's like this layer of synth that just lays on top of it, and it lends a sense of gravitas to it. Because at first, like, oh, this is gonna happen. No, we're not doing that. So yeah, just epic. Epic music. That was one of the things. Nolan did have some input on this. We've talked about this before. Like, how much input does Nolan have, and does he just turn these guys loose? Apparently, advised Göransson to use the violin for the central theme, because it's kind of a romantic and intellectual and theme. But then, you just drop that synth on it and just mutates it into something horrendous almost.
That violin can switch on a dime real quick, and so some of these composers can use that. Where, like, especially on this, we're talking about. I mean, if you think about it, we're in the whole first half of the movie. You're on the train with him, and you're excited. Let's get this bomb going. Let's get these scientists going.
You are.
To holy cow! What did we do? Let's put the genie back in the bottle. And if you're going to have an instrument that does that, what instrument would it be? It'd be a violin.
Yeah.
Beautiful, wonderful, slow, and build it up, and then. Oh no, we got to give us some, neurotic sounds with it afterwards, and heart-wrenching sounds. So that fits the theme.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about Bernard Herrmann in, the Psycho soundtrack. That's violin, right?
Yeah.
And it's not pleasant. So it's very adaptable depending on what you want to do.
Yeah. That's like a perfect instrument for this kind of, we need you to switch it real quick.
Real quick. Some of the other things that just some random sound effects that I thought were really powerful. The crackling atom sound was so tangible, I could almost feel it. And then just the feet stomping, which we get the scene where it happens. Like, that's the speech, they're pounding the bleachers or whatever before he does the speech in the gym. But you hear it multiple times. Like, you hear it a lot. It is an editing bridge. Like, it'll move from one scene into like the hearing, like the security clearance hearing. You'll hear it in there. Yes. Like, he's haunted by that. Mm-hmm. But it's just, where's this coming from?
Yep.
And then just kind of the last thing I had for music was we have this kind of dueling climaxes at the end of this film where they're kind of just railing on Oppenheimer right before they completely revoke his clearance. But it's also happening like when, Strauss is like clearly like his chances of getting put in the cabinet are falling apart, and the music just ramps up.
Yep.
And just almost drowning out the dialogue. And you also have like the light gets really bright white. Like, oh man, it is so tense. And it's like, and again, it's color for Oppenheimer. So it's subjective. Like, this is what you might be feeling. Like, I can't even hear what people are saying right now. It doesn't even matter what they're saying because I know the gist of what's being said. So, I'm feeling it right now. Like,
I mean, yeah.
I'm having flashbacks.
It is something. There was some, yeah. I mean, the music, again, it's stuff that just, you have to really sit and focus on it because you get lost in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then, other than the sound of the Trinity bomb building up, I get lost in this. I'm so invested in this, the speech, the comments, the quotes, that they do that. And I wonder how much the average person notices all some of these aspects that you're talking about, to where it's like, man, I skip right over that because I'm so focused on what I see visually, and I have to develop it. It's a skill.
Well, I mean, it almost feels like you got to watch it again just so that you can, it's almost, I'm thinking of in terms of like golf swing, right? Yeah. Like learn this, and then forget it. Just do it.
Yep. Yeah.
Because like the music is doing stuff, and it's doing stuff on an emotional and a subconscious level. So you kind of just want to let it do that. And then like, oh, okay, I get what it's doing to me. And I don't necessarily have to go, okay, that's the same track as that other track or whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's a weird balance between those two.
Yeah. And just, you got 3 more hours. Go ahead. Watch it again. Thanks, Nolan. Thanks a lot. 6 hours just to get something.
I didn't originally plan to watch this in one sitting. And I guess I stopped it and had dinner, but I pretty much watched it in one sitting. Like, so it took me
the turntables have turned. The shoe is on the other foot here, Craig.
Well, typically,
you didn't watch it in one. Oh, did you watch it on your phone at all?
No, I did not watch it on my phone. I watched it on my big screen TV. I did not watch it on my computer. No, what I typically like to do is I like to watch it, and I like to watch these movies in chunks. Watch them about 30 minutes, and 30 minutes of film, and that would take me maybe 45 minutes because I'm pausing and doing research or whatever. And then do it over like 4 days, and then that feels like a deeper dive. But this one, since I'd seen it so many times, so I was like, I'm just gonna just do it and try and balance that. Like I want it just to hit me as the cinematic masterpiece that it is. So I don't want to be too analytical of it. I want to just absorb it. But it's a lot to do. I finished at like 8:30, and I was like, I need to watch something funny now.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, the thing I like about watching it on like a computer with this versus or even my phone, because I can hold it so close and look at it, is like there's just some scenes where you're just like, hold on, I got to get, what did they, I got to get that part again. And so you end up going back. I
rewound quite a bit.
Quick rewind a little bit. And on the TV, it's not so easy anymore to just go back, and it's, so it's annoying. So, but on the computer, I could just click back, boom, and go, let me watch that scene one more time. Oh, Florence Pugh's a great actress. I got to watch that scene one more time. So
there's a couple of scenes you got to watch over and over again.
A couple of scenes. You're just like, hold on. Craig was going to talk about lighting, and I really got to get
quote?
This.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that quote? I didn't write it down. Let me type it in again one more time. Go play that one more time. So
did you watch this with the subtitles on?
I did. And here's the thing.
I think you kind of have to.
You have to, and with Christopher Nolan movies, you just have to. He turns the sound down on people, I think, sometimes, or I don't know what it is, but you have to watch it, and some of it also is it gives you like the names of the scientists that they're doing.
Thing. Absolutely, dude.
So then when you see it, because some of it blends together, and you don't know which scientist it is, and you start to hear, Fuchs and Schweitzer and Slicer and just the way they pronounce them, and you're like, oh man, those are very different. And most of these guys coming across were European scientists. They were German guys fleeing the war. And it was, there's a lot of truth in history to this, that we were in a race, pulling these guys out, trying to sneak these guys out. So.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite sequences of this film is the recruiting montage.
Yes.
It's really you go watching them and trying to explain it, what they're doing. They can't really tell you.
Yeah. And I got to wonder. I do got to wonder because we're watching this recruiting. It's like he's putting together this all-star team. Dennis Quaid's son, like all these guys. Yeah. All these scientists he's putting in there, and they're great. They're great actors. You've seen them in other shows and roles and things. And
yeah, great.
And they're playing these people, and they're very smart and intellectual in how they say things. And I've been around some scientists before. And communication-wise, these guys are a little bit different than some of the things that I would expect, just in how they talked. And because they're very smooth, and you're just like, oh, these guys are so incredible. It makes me wonder if that's what they're, how are these guys like really? Because sometimes when you get into a room of incredible minds like that, they're not all well-spoken like Neil deGrasse Tyson, where they can stand in front of a camera and explain that to you.
Yeah.
Or Brian Cox, from England, where they can explain it to you so well. They're quite the socially awkward group sometimes. But,
just the last thing I had for sound was just that there's a lot of voiceover in this film, which I appreciated. And again, wanted to have the subtitles on, wanted to talk about that. Just kind of narrating different things. You got like Strauss describing what Borden's doing against Oppenheimer. You got the whole plan for building Los Alamos is all.
Yes.
We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. That helps quite a bit.
What's incredible to me, I know you were talking sound, but what's incredible to me is that whole scene about Los Alamos. We're going to build a church. We're going to build a school. We're going to build a gym because people are going to bring their families. And here we live, 30 miles from Hanford, which did this. Hanford was the other facility. Yeah. And we, to this day, see the impact of Hanford existing and all that it's done. And the area where Hanford is, by the way, you can't walk on that soil, some of it, for 10,000 years. So, I mean, I'm just saying. So they're like, what are we going to do with Los Alamos? He says, we can give it back to the Indians. It's like, no, you can't. No. Let me just tell you.
Forever.
I know what they were doing out there, and I don't think you should do that. So, no, but it just shows, like, some of that history with Hanford and history with Los Alamos to see these facilities they've built up is powerful. So,
yeah. Well, you're roughly from here, right, Corey? I mean, like,
yes.
You grew up in the area. Yeah. Like, I'm not from. I'm from California. So here in Hanford is cool because I know that it exists, but it's not nearly to the extent of I didn't really know the history. I didn't have that as that's not the home team for me as much as it is for people that are from here. But it is still fun to hear. Oh, Hanford. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the thing that's right down the road.
And I'm gonna bird walk this here for a second. So Hanford, before I became a teacher, the summer before I became a teacher and graduated at WSU. So I graduated WSU. I had a summer, and then I was going to do my student teaching, right? And I went and had an internship at PNL, which is outrun by the Department of Energy with Hanford. And they sent me for my internship with a scientist down to Frenchman Flat, Area 5, right? Which is in the Nevada test site where they tested. After this, Los Alamos was testing nuclear bombs, and the Nevada test site was testing nuclear bombs. And so I spent a week down there in the Nevada test site with these scientists, all of these guys from this that, by the way, their personalities are very... That's why I'm saying these guys are a little bit different. These actual scientists doing stuff.
Nice.
I'm in there on what's called Frenchman Flat, right? And now Frenchman Flat had multiple nuclear bombs, atomic bombs set off. There's some famous pictures of the bank vault, the bridge that they built, constructed, set off the atomic bomb, and then saw what happened to these structures, right?
Sure.
And I'm standing there taking selfies and pictures with them in this area where the nuclear bombs had gone off, 60 years ago. And so, and the radiation is blown away. They're like, just don't go digging, but
don't dig too much.
And then we went to the viewing area, which was about like 10 miles away. And it was seats that the soldiers sat on, and they put on welder's glasses and watched. I sat in those seats. I have a photo of me in those seats.
That's cool.
Looking at Frenchman Flat. Anyway, to see the immensity of some of these testing sites that they did, like they did with Los Alamos, is it's a powerful experience. And so as a young kid, I was like, science teacher, I was like, oh my gosh, blown away. So I kind of feel like, it's something to see where this kind of mentality of we're going to build a town out of nowhere from right here. So, and to see it, Nevada test site was amazing. So I look back at that experience all the time. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like I could talk about it. I don't see the FBI breaking down my door, but I'm just saying it was a great experience. Loved it.
That's
top
cool.
secret.
Nice. All right. No, thanks for sharing that.
But seriously though, I would not want to have
it.
been the guy sitting on the bleachers watching this to realize what you're looking at and knowing now, like, okay, that's radiation.
Yeah.
That warm tingle you got, yeah, that's a heat blast. Yeah, that's not good. So
I noticed that they didn't talk about that. Like in the room where they're talking, was that the Secretary of War? Maybe I can't remember who it is. They're trying to decide where they're going to drop the bomb in that particular scene, and they're talking about the results of what's going to happen. They don't mention the radiation.
No,
I don't think at any point do they talk about like forever after this, it's going to be messed up and people are going to die from that.
They did,
as opposed to like the immediacy of it.
In that little slideshow he was watching afterwards, in the thing they brought up people who came out of their homes unscathed but died 9 days later.
Yeah.
From radiation and fallout.
But initially
exposure.
they didn't really count it.
We don't see any slides. We just see them all like horrified, like, oh, like, because some of those pictures are terrible. And so they're realizing the gravity of what, this isn't just a bomb that blows up and that's it. This is a bomb that blows up, and that's 50 years of radiation that's moved through there. So,
yeah,
genius on fire. I mean,
so we've talked a little bit about performance and just raved about the cast, and it's phenomenal. I don't think there's a single person in this movie that I'm like, yeah, they're a weak link. They're not that good. It's all great across the board. Nolan for some reason gets this rap of not being, good with actors, but ridiculous. Dialogue though. Corey, did you have a line or two that you wanted to, because there's a lot in this.
Oh, Craig, I can't just do one or two. Gosh darn you.
We have a few minutes, so.
We do. Okay. I'm going to go with one of the first lines that I wrote down in the movie on the second watch. And it's when he says he was looking at Los Alamos. He rode out to the desert, that they were looking at. And he's like, there's nobody for 40 miles this way, 40 miles. I grew up in this area, Yeah. So he says, when I was a kid, I thought if I could combine physics and New Mexico, my life would be perfect.
Ooh.
And he does it. He does that exact thing. But I kind of feel like it's basically like an adult version of if I work at Starbucks, I get free Frappuccinos forever. Like, this is what I get. If I do this, I'm just going to get everything I want. Like, I've got physics, which I love, and I've got my town, my home where I want to be. And I'm going to put those two together. And he does that. So I think it's just everything falling into alignment. And in the midst of that, you think if I just get these two to work, I'm going to get everything. And you don't. He gets those two. And then his life afterwards is just a train wreck of government security clearance and power and everything that happened afterwards, which was absolutely petty, but we know.
Yeah. No, see, that's brilliant, because that's going to fit really nicely with my first one, which there's a lot of this kind of, you get your comeuppance from this, right? Strauss says, who'd want to justify their whole life, right? When he's talking about in hindsight, we did this whole thing and did this to Oppenheimer, and this is how it was for him. And then like it's literally repeated right back to him from Alden Ehrenreich's character when they're in the Senate hearing. Like, yep. That shoe's that came. How the turntables right there.
How the turntables have turned. All right. So again, I'm going to go with, we got a few minutes, right? So I've got a couple good ones here. The other one, and I think this lines up with his life so powerfully, is I can't remember who he was talking to now, where he was talking about the military needing them. He was wearing the uniform at the time.
Yes.
And he told him, take that off. You're not one of them. You're a scientist. And then he does. He switches back to his suits after that, because they thought, we should be in the military because it's a military product. And he says, they need us. And he says, and then the kid said, he said they need us. And then the guy said, they need us until they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is like the biggest root of identity, I think, for Oppenheimer throughout this whole movie, is they needed him to do this, to beat the Russians, to beat the Germans, to do this.
Yep.
The moment he's done, even Matt Damon says to him, and he says, well, should I go with you to Washington? And he says, no. And he says, well, you'll fill me in on what happens. He says, sure. Yeah. Like just kind of, you're not in the club anymore, right? We've already got what we want.
Well, he says, sure. And then he kind of walks a little bit, and then he goes, the best I can.
The best I can. Because you're not cleared in this clearance level. You're not one of us.
Yep.
And it's painful because you're like, why would you, this man did this for you and built this team, and you know, where it's going, you're just like, gosh. And so I feel like this is just the biggest comment. They need us until they don't. And that is a powerful reminder for anybody, all of us in our life too.
Yeah.
You know, that once they're done, they discard, just set you aside, and it's, you know, why didn't you do more kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, right until everything drops, then it's like, why didn't you do more?
I didn't have this one written down, but that immediately made me think of the scene with Truman too, where, you know, he comes in and talks about, you feel like I have blood on my hands. And Truman's like, you think anybody in Nagasaki, Hiroshima thinks you did this? Like, I'm the one who dropped the bomb.
Nobody cares who built it. They care who
nobody cares who
dropped
built it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he even waved his little handkerchief, like, here, you crybaby. And he called him a crybaby after that, which is historically accurate. Yeah. Here we go. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So, and this I think is the one, there's one scientist, I can't remember. They got all these names. I can't remember which scientist it was who said it. And he did not want to come work on the project. He was like, I need you to work on the project. He says, I'm not working on the project. He was just talking to him in that building early on in the Los Alamos. Yeah. And he says, you drop a bomb, it falls on the just and the unjust. I don't wish the culmination of 3 centuries of physics to be a weapon of mass destruction. And in my science mind, I'm thinking, okay, we're in a race to build this. Like, this is the biggest culmination. We just built an Avengers-style team of scientists in the world at that moment. We're talking to Einstein, flying out to see him.
Yeah.
And giving him the paper and saying, is this a possibility the world's going to catch on fire? And he says to them, hands the paper back and says, Oppie, this is yours, not mine. Like, as if to say, if this lights, you did it, not me. But like, it's like the culmination of 300 years. Like, physics has just exploded up to these points in these guys. And we're like, the best thing we can do with it right now is make it into a bomb to end a war.
Right.
And now create what we know. And Oppenheimer even says what's going to happen next, an arms race. We're going to have an arms race because this is a terrible thing. So I feel like that when you take the philosophy of all this, that's where Nolan hits pay dirt on this movie, is he makes you realize you're rooting for Oppenheimer the first half, and then you're regretting everything he did in the second half.
Yeah.
And along with how he was treated. But we spent centuries understanding the cosmos only to make it a weapon.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking too, I had a quote that I was going to share, and I am going to share it, but I was thinking too more about the Einstein thing. You just sparking more stuff. And this is post the Trinity thing, when Strauss tries to bring him into Princeton, right? And he talks about first about, like, I'm surprised you didn't bring Einstein into the project. Like, he was most brilliant mind of his time or whatever. And he's like, of his time.
Of his time.
Yeah. Like, he's a has-been. He's not up with us.
There's an arrogance in Oppenheimer for that. Yeah. Yes.
Well, because it's in that same conversation, right before that, when they're kind of they're kind of getting to know each other a little bit more. Like, if they've met each other. Yeah. But Strauss says, I'm a self-made man. Oppenheimer's like, I can relate to that. He's like, oh? He's like, yeah, my father was one.
Yeah.
It's just this backhanded compliment. I'm like, oh, yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. Because this other guy, my dad, he was one, not me. I'm above all of that.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like, yeah, I mean, Strauss is a bad dude, and he does some really underhanded stuff. But
Strauss is terrible.
You can kind of see. Oh, great performance by Downey. Holy smokes.
Absolutely tremendous.
I kind of can see where, it's not like the slights. There's several, slights that aren't real, like the whole, like, what did Einstein say about me? But there's some real slights and making fun of him, pulling the rug out from under him and not hearing about the isotopes and all the things.
Well, he got everybody to laugh at him. They were laughing at him, and you see Downey's face show that, where he's just like the butt of the joke and sour grapes, and you realize, here's a guy who's coming up and gets a little bit of power, is like, I'm going to stick it back to you if it's the last thing I do, like I'm going to get it back, which shows you that's the premise of this movie, is that all the things we're doing and the pettiness that's going on amidst this, we're fighting our own battles. So yeah, it's powerful.
Well, here's another one too. I'm noticing a theme with the quotes that I pulled, and they're all very much like this cocky SOB.
Yeah.
So first time he meets Groves, Groves comes in and takes off his jacket and hands it to Lieutenant Colonel. Hands it to a Lieutenant Colonel. He's like, have that dry cleaned. And he's like, well, Oppenheimer's like, well, if that's how you treat a Lieutenant Colonel, I hate to think how you treat a humble physicist. And Groves is like, please, if I ever meet one, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
You're not humble.
You're just no.
You're so full of yourself.
Well, but now hold on. Now that makes me think back to, there's a scene with Florence Pugh in the beginning, where she's standing at a bookcase. I remember this scene very well. And as she's standing at the bookcase, she takes out a book that she's going to have him read. And she's asking him about his time in college and stuff. And, he was going to kill his professor and then he didn't and stuff. And all of these things. And she says, she makes a offhanded comment about it, but then she asks him about it, and he says, "We're all simple souls, I guess." And that's it's a powerful line, because it's kind of like, well, here in the end, he's still ruled by. He's got his own lusts. He's got his own, power. Strauss had his own power, his own, all of these things, and in the end of all the stuff that everybody's doing, you boil it all down to Strauss's by power, and he was embarrassed and he got revenge, and in the way that he could abuse it and hurt Oppenheimer, but not until he was done with him. And then Oppenheimer, power, prestige, politician. He even got told he was being a politician and all of these things. And then at the end, regret for what he had done and wanted to get back in there, right? Because then he could speak and share like this. He knew the arms race was coming. Anyway. Like, we were all simple souls too. We're all led by the same thing. Everything's basic instinct with what's going on in human nature and some of these struggles that they were having. Yeah,
the Apple thing. I'm like, I know that's kind of apocryphal. But I think it's a great scene. It really does speak to how fragile, I guess, he was at the time. One thing I was struck by in that scene too, when he goes in there and Niels Bohr is there, and he saves him from eating the apple. In that, for some reason I didn't catch. I've seen this 3 or 4 times at this point. This is the first time that I noticed that. So it's Kenneth Branagh and James Darcy, I believe, is the professor that he was trying to poison. Those are the 2 guys that were on the mole in Dunkirk, talking about it's a good thing you're Navy, or a good thing I'm Navy and you're Army. And it's like, there's a little reunion here.
Again, people who work for Nolan want to work for Nolan again.
But it wasn't so obvious that I was like, oh, those are the guys from Dunkirk. Yeah. Like I'd seen, I had to go, oh, wait, that's right. I've seen these 2 guys standing side by side. That's what it's from.
Yes.
It's not so on the nose. They're both great actors. So, and how different is, Branagh in this movie versus, we just saw him in Tenet.
I was just going to say, Kenneth Branagh, we just saw him in Tenet. So he's a powerful actor too.
Yeah. And very different. Like, Niels Bohr and Sater, not even close. Opposite.
He's also doing these Orient Express movies, which are incredible. So I like them. My wife and I
like them too. Yeah, those are a lot of fun. I like all those.
Yeah.
And if Justin was here, he'd say Gilderoy Lockhart, and that's why he's just stuck.
Oh my gosh, yes, I forgot that.
I love Gilderoy
Lockhart.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, any other quotes that you would like to share?
Yes. I'm gonna summarize it with this. This is the one that I absolutely powerful. This is of all the quotes. I'm looking here, and all my quotes were about the science of this and the immensity of what they did. So this one hits the human nature, I think. So they won't fear it until they understand it, and they won't understand it until they've used it. And it kind of shows the weight and the warning of what they're going to do. And they still went through with it. Is that the wisdom for this tool, for this weapon that we created, usually comes after we've used it, and then the horror sets in of what we've created. And you look at where we're at now with the horror of all this, and it's a doggone miracle we haven't had one go off again with all the wars and everything that's been fought since that. But I think in some sense, I like to think that maybe that's the reason is humanity has figured out that was atrocious and that would be the end of us all. But then you look and you're like, man, there's some people out there that power, prestige, something. Like, again, we're all simple souls, right? And so someone who has the lust and the power and the greed to something like this tool that. So it was quite a thing to see Oppenheimer really even stand toe-to-toe with the president and tell him this is a mistake where we're going. You know, what we've done, we've unleashed. So, and they get called a crybaby for it. So it's powerful. It's powerful. It's like you said, it's a haunting movie. It's not necessarily, it's a good movie. It's a great movie. It's not necessarily a fun movie to watch and think, like, be entertained. And except for some of the witty humor and the backhandedness that goes, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to follow that because I think that's a great note to end on, and I think we should pause here because this movie is, like a lot of these, it's just so dense. We want to make sure we give it its due, and we'll come back and do a second half with Justin and give our audience a chance if they have any more thoughts on Oppenheimer. So as we close, we just want to say thank you guys so much for listening, and if you want to connect with us, you can find us on X and Instagram and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com, or you can use the SpeakPipe app on our website and leave us a voicemail. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, subscribe, all the things. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. And as I mentioned, our next episode will be the second half of our breakdown of Oppenheimer and the conclusion of our series on the films of Christopher Nolan. So send us an email or voicemail about your favorite quotes or performance moments from Oppenheimer or any other thoughts on the Nolan films, and we will share it on the next episode.